accident that I had.
Wait, is that you or is that Dean?
That's me.
Really? What happened?
For the record?
I'll ask you after we turn the camera off.
Very
and
good.
You can tell me the real story.
Okay.
So first of all, congratulations, because you directed the hell out of that episode last night. That
Thank
was
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
How did it, compare to the other two that you've done in terms of how hard it was?
This one was a little bit more tricky just simply because I was acting in it a lot more than the previous two. The previous two, the writers kind of took it easy. They were like, oh, we'll write Dean light so that Jensen could focus. Yeah, so that I could focus on just being a director. But this one, they were like, no. Yeah.
It was good though. What scenes were the hardest or the easiest or the best?
I would say the scenes with where we were sitting with the older woman, where we were sitting down and interviewing her, and she was giving us the whole story about everything. So that was, she did a wonderful job, I thought. But what was difficult was that while I was in the scene, I'm sitting there making notes as a director to tell her when my assistant director yells cut.
Right.
And then I have to snap out of Dean and go into director and go, okay, on the line where this, and this. Let's try it this and that. Okay, good. And then I'd get back in my spot and be like, okay, ready to go, roll camera.
Like be Dean again.
Yeah, and it's. I think that's the biggest my biggest hurdle is literally just taking the Dean hat off and putting the director on and then doing, and switching hats because it's. And I didn't even realize this, until it really kind of solidified this last episode, which is that I never understood my mindset as an actor more than I do now, having to get out of that mindset. And I realized that my mind is very...
Like secretly method?
No. Actually, maybe even the opposite of that. My mind is very clear as an actor because... I know my lines. I come in prepared. I know the blocking. I know the feel of the scene. I don't have to think about anything else. I just wait until they yell action, and then I'm open. My mind's clear and available for the nuances within the scene. I have some editors who have come up to me in the past on the show and been like, "Hey, man, we really appreciate what you do when you're not saying dialogue." And I was like. And I really didn't. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you're always in the scene. You're always doing something. We know that if we need to, we can always cut to you for a reaction of something because of what somebody's saying. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do that.
You're like, I am kind of good.
No. But I think the reason that I do that is because I'm listening. Like my mind is I'm not thinking about 1,000 things. I'm just in the scene, and it's weird. It's kind of when the director yells action. Everything goes away, I'm not thinking about, if I've got a sore back, or I'm not thinking about if I've got a bill that I have to pay, or a phone call I have to make, or an interview I have to do, or I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm literally just...
You're always thinking about me.
No, well, you, that's different. So when you kind of couple that with being a director, which is thinking about everything, you got to think about whether the costume looks right. You got to tell every basically aspect of the show. You got to be like, okay, next we're going to be doing this shot, which I'm going to need a 50mm on a prime, 50mm prime. I'm going to set it at the corner. I'm going to do a 2-for-1 here. We're going to get another camera. So there's like 1,000 things, and you got people coming up to you every 5 minutes going, do you want the blue one or the green one? Do you want the knife or the gun? Do you want this? And you're constantly making decisions, so your mind is not able to get clear. So
came off pretty good.
Snapping between those two mindsets is my biggest hurdle, but I like a good challenge.
Are you looking into directing other stuff, or just doing Supernatural right now?
I think I'd like to. I think I don't know whether I'm. I think I'm confident in my preparation enough to take on another project. I don't know if I'm confident enough in my performance as a director, but the compliments help, so thank you.
No, it was really good. Yeah. I don't just hand out compliments.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
Let's talk about, we're 3 episodes in now, and obviously when the season started, there was some conflict, I think, with fans and with the reaction in terms of Sam and turning off his phone and, not hunting where do you think Dean's coming from on that? And do you think Sam was in character, was out of character doing that?
Well, obviously Dean has issues with it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already seen that, and I think that he is almost kind of sloughing it off as, I don't know why you did that. You're weird. You've always been weird to me. I've never fully understood you, but I'm back. So get your ass in gear. Let's do this shit. And I think that he doesn't necessarily want to validate what Sam did by acknowledging it.
Right.
And I think that if he ignores it, then it
healthy.
Seems less than. Well, Dean's a very healthy guy when it comes to emotions. And you also got to remember that Dean has just spent basically a year in the trenches. He was off at war. It's kind of like there's a scene, and it's funny because there was reference to this a few seasons ago, but I don't think it was as spot on as it is now. But the movie The Hurt Locker, when Jeremy Renner's character is coming, he's back stateside, and he's like standing in a cereal aisle with just like it's a wall of choices of cereal, and he's just standing there going like, this is not normal. Because what was normal to him for was mortar sounds and gunfire and being in the trenches and having you wake up every day wondering if you're going to live to go to sleep that night. And Dean has just basically come back from essentially that. He was at war in purgatory. You saw him, he's just covered in blood, and he's like.
I bet you love those days.
Well, what was funny was when we first started doing the purgatory flashbacks, I didn't realize how many they would be showing. I thought it was just kind of like do the one or the two and be done with it. So I was telling our key makeup artist Sabrina,
like, dirty me up.
I was more. Just let's just make it. It's the season opener. We're on a new night. Arrow's our lead in. We got to make it big. Let's get more blood, more dirt, more. I was taking like mud off the ground.
Now you're
I
take 500 showers
and I'm
a
like,
day.
oh my gosh, why did I do that? That was so stupid. Now I have to clean up like for half an hour. So anyway, yeah, that's I think the thing with as far as getting back to your question with Sam and Dean's kind of relationship is it's as of right now, I think Dean's just kind of sweeping it under the rug and not wanting to deal with the fact that his brother was a pansy for a year.
You've got a fun episode coming up that's kind of a found footage sort of a thing. Were you guys not in that a lot? Like, did that like?
No, it was awesome.
How does that work?
Had some time off. Enjoy our summer. It was brilliant. So make sure everybody writes in and say we want more found footage of it.
Okay.
It was. Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't seen the final cut yet, and I wasn't there for a lot of it.
Cool concept.
It's a very cool concept, and the way that they shot it, we had actors actually being the camera operators. It's very kind of, for lack of better references, Cloverfield.
Ghostfacers.
And Ghostfacers, but Ghostfacers, there was this was them kind of like documenting hunting. This is from a completely different perspective. These are like, kids that just happen to catch these FBI guys and investigating what is a story, and they're like, oh my gosh, grab your camera, like film this, what's going on? So it's really from,
cool.
An outsider's perspective as to, the way Sam and Dean come into town and kind of, take over.
And you got to sleep.
And I got to sleep.
Always good.
Always good.